I'm from Believe Me, Throw Your Setup, YSL, the Ops Take the Crew. We getting this paper and we ducking cases. Free Lil Shannon, be the one that had him running with the kid. Okay. Calling another attorney. Judge, I didn't want to call the first one. I didn't really get that well for you. Convince them that we make stuff up and we just, just out of thin air. No. You're the one that decided to put him on the stand.
The Young Thug YSL RICO trial is in shambles. An hour into the day, there was a 3-hour recess for a juror issue. Throughout the rest of the day, they argue over evidence, and the judge takes a few shots at the state. I think it's the same juror that had an issue last week or the week before. I don't know what's happening, but the whole day's basically ruined. There's still a few interesting points in this video. I'm gonna edit down the most entertaining points. Hit subscribe, join channel membership. Let's go, boys. First look at Thug on day 128. So we've had this lady on before. I think she's a 911 dispatcher, or she handles all the files of 911 calls. I think she's testifying to the shooting that both Lil D's did with Mungtunk in 2015.
Atlanta 911 emergency operator 12 at 7 address of your emergency.
551 Woods Drive, Northwest Atlanta, Georgia. But don't come to the
Okay, listen to me. Okay, let me verify. 551 Woods Drive, Northwest, right? Yeah. Okay, but do not come. So what's going on? You need the police, fire, ambulance?
Gunshots.
How many?
A lot.
Heard 30 gunshots in the area 551 Woods Drive.
Kind of sad how people reporting shootings like this, they're scared to say their address because they don't want police walking up to their door.
Not come to Woods Drive. Did you see anybody?
No.
Okay. Heard about 30 shots though. Okay. And your name?
Don't want to.
You don't? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Can I just verify your phone number in case we have to call you back? Just ask a question. Are you near Club Crucial?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, ma'am. I think we've already had that reported, but thank you for calling, okay? Thank you now. Bye-bye.
Someone just turned the shot on my house and my auntie got shot.
Okay. Okay, what's the address? Is this a house or an apartment?
On house. Somebody just told me to do a shooting up the house. Okay, was that shot? Shooting house. Are you with the patient right now? Oh, she's laying in bed. Is she completely alert? Yes, ma'am. Auntie. All right, what part of the body was injured? The butt.
So this is sad. This is someone's niece calling to report that her aunt just got shot in a house in the butt.
My name is Miss Bell.
Good morning, Miss Bell.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm a little nervous.
Is there anything we can do to make you a little less nervous?
Not really.
All right.
That's sad. So I think this is the lady that got shot in the butt.
Miss Bell, do you remember April 27th and 28th of 2015?
Yes.
Why do you remember that date range? Could you lean into your mic and speak a little louder for this jury?
That was the day that I was shot.
On that particular day, do you remember what day of the week it was?
Probably ended up Tuesday morning.
This is sad. This lady looks really nervous. I think I see her shaking a little bit.
A drink or two before we went to bed. But other than that, that's,
When the doorbell rang, what'd you do?
I answered the door.
Do you remember about how many people were at the door? Was it family or strangers that were at the door?
I was a family. I wouldn't know who the door 3 o'clock in the morning for strangers.
Fair enough. Was your sister's 18-year-old son one of the people that was at the door?
Yes, it was.
Recognize what they did once you let them in the house?
No.
Now, do you like guns?
No.
Do you make it known to your nephews and nieces you don't like guns?
Yes.
Do they respect you enough to respect the fact that you don't like guns?
Yes.
Were you close enough to her if they've been arguing or anything?
No.
Were you close enough if they had been arguing to have heard it?
Okay.
All right. Tell the jury once you got back to your room what you did.
I stepped in my room and had my alcohol next to my bed. I figured I'd take a drink, but I would get a chance to do that.
Wow.
I was covered by your young. I was hit.
Your voice dropped.
I was hit.
What did you say right before you were hit?
I took the ball and then I put it back down because I was hit.
Did you hear anything before you were hit?
I just probably heard gunfire, but nothing else.
When you say you were hit, what do you mean?
I was shot.
Did you immediately know you had been shot?
Yes.
What happened? How did you feel? Tell the jury.
But actually, I didn't really feel the pain at the time. I was very scared, and I looked into my hallway, which is right in my bedroom, and the hallway right at my bedroom. When I turned my back and looked around, the police was already there.
Do you have any idea how long it took you to gather yourself and look around and see the police?
I really didn't have any time.
Did you see when you realized you'd been shot? Were you able to see if there were any holes in the house for a bullet to come through? Like the bullet, the secret came
I came through my wall.
through your what?
My wall?
Do you remember how many shots you heard?
No other way.
Did you hear more than one?
Yes, it was very loud.
By the bed?
I stood by the bed. I never sat down, but I stood there.
Was the police officer inside your bedroom when you looked?
No, he wasn't in my bedroom. He was in the hallway.
Do you recall saying anything?
No, I didn't say anything to him.
Do you remember who all was in the house at that moment where you noticed the police was in the house?
No.
Did you have any idea where your nephew and your nephew's friends were?
No. Once I was in the ambulance, I really did not know how serious the injury was. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't really feel any pain until I was operating on it. The pain was so excruciating that I would wish I knew.
Would you describe for the jury which of these houses?
The one with the cars in the driveway.
Why are they showing all this? Do these people still live there? Hopefully they moved.
Did you know, or did you call 911? Do you have any memory of who, if anyone, called 911 in your house?
No.
All right, Ms. Bell, thank you for your time and you are excused.
All right, so they just went on a break. Why is the audio and I don't know, the lawyers are up at the, something's clearly going on.
With the jury again. So sorry about witnesses you may have had here, but just have them in more instant. Okay. All right, we'll be in recess till 2.
Okay, they came back 20 minutes later again, and that's all we heard just now was no more jury. They're gone for the day. So there's some sort of issue going on with the jury. Now we're back 3 hours later.
Because y'all were going to also get together on some of the Mr. Ryan evidence, so I'll give y'all a chance to do that as well. Right. I expect y'all to have already accomplished all of that, but I don't want us to just waste time since we're here already.
I would imagine it's still the same juror that was having issues before. I would have already thrown myself out of a window if I had to be on this jury. So it looks like they're not going to talk about what happened as well. We're just going to go on to more discussions about evidence coming in.
Ms. Love's offered to sit down with her, but it would just be.
It doesn't have to be me.
Well, it's not you. It's just if the state could just identify what they plan on using, and then I can look at their list.
Awkward. She's like, it doesn't have to be me if you don't like me. Mr. Steele literally doesn't even want to talk to Miss Love. He said that several times. He's like, I don't want to talk to her.
Okay, so can you get...
About Miss Love personally, it's just sitting down with anyone going through my client's phone. I just think if they go through it and figure out what they want to use, let me know, then
and then you can maybe... Okay.
And I believe I'm looking at the same document as everyone else. For number 8, Michael Sprinkle, it says jail calls, pictures of infinity, social media, and interviews. When we're saying interviews, Mr. D.A. Sprinkle is kind of a unique witness in this case because he's a DA, but he also, I think it's fair to say, he fulfilled a certain investigatory role mid-investigation. However, he wasn't sitting, when it says interviews.
Let's get some clarification on that. Are these interviews that Mr. Sprinkle conducted of people, or what are these?
Yes, and it's also detailed in the report that we provided that he gave a 146 page report. So there are interviews that law enforcement conducted in 2015 and 16 that he would not have been a part of.
That's what I'm wondering, because I don't see specific, it just says interviews.
I don't see a date or anything.
Okay.
Maybe if you've got a more detailed exhibit and witness list.
Again, what the f*** am I watching?
My concern was simply this. We're on the same page that he's not going to be commenting on interviews that he simply reviewed to bring himself up to speed before beginning his work.
It doesn't sound like it.
2017, March, I believe, 3rd, 2017 interview with Mr. Zachary. There was one part that the Honorable Court, I think, redacted that I would like you to reevaluate if it becomes necessary. I understand it's all premature, but there's one section on one page.
At the time, I was trying to figure out what was based on personal knowledge versus hearsay. The state was arguing either personal knowledge or statements of a co-conspirator. So at the time, on August 6th, the state was seeking to admit this evidence. And so that's why they were supposed to circle back. But now as trials progress, Mr. Steele is saying he wants to.
Does the state still think they want that in? And if not, if the defense gets it in, do y'all have an issue with that? Or
I'm reading just the area before it and the area right after.
Sounds like Brian Steele wants something in. The state is, of course, taking forever on something. They're so unprepared. That's the only thing I can take from the last 20 minutes of watching this.
And in that soon-to-be-called witness is informing the detectives about someone's opinion regarding who shot up a certain location. And that is listed on page 38, lines 11 through 12. All of that is speculation, the witness sharing with detectives what somebody else thought happened.
So Brian Steele clearly wants it in because whatever they say is good for the defense.
Explicitly whether that happened, the witness says, I don't know. So as we get further down, the witness is then asked, have you heard who may have done that? And the witness says he was locked up with the boy that was charged with it. And then ADA Sprinkle says, yeah, but I mean, do you think he did? Did he tell you that he did? The witness says, no, he said he didn't do it.
But then if he says something different, I'll say, did he say this? But I'll lay a foundation before I answer the first question.
And Your Honor, obviously, if it's established that he has a basis for knowledge that does not consist of what somebody else might have said some other time that we don't know about, and he doesn't have personal knowledge of it. If it's not that situation, but he does have a basis for it, unless there's some other valid objection, then there's nothing that I can, complain about right now. I think that any of Zachary's jail calls would only be used to impeach Zachary if we needed to use Zachary's jail calls. We were trying to put our finger on it within our team because we had identified a call between Mr. Kendrick and Ms. Morton, where Mr. Kendrick, from our listening of it, seemed to be essentially trying to establish an alibi. And it seemed, I'll be clear, he said, I was with you. And she said something to the effect of, yeah, you were with me. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to put Mr. Weinstein and his team on notice. He's not here. So we are wanting to identify the exact date and time to extract the MP4 so that they have it.
How they know they're trying to make up an alibi? Sounds like they were just together.
Quindarius Zachary jail calls, from my recollection in the discovery, I don't believe we've ever been served Quindarius Zachary jail calls I do know for certain that the state has never identified any sort of group of calls that maybe they may be interested in bringing into this case.
I thought they've talked about Quindary Zachary before. Oh no, that was about interrogations. Never mind. How do they not have jail calls?
If there are some calls, if we haven't been served them, which I don't believe we have, I would ask that they be excluded. But if there are some calls into discovery, I would just ask that they're identified.
All of the jail calls have been served. All of our jail calls for especially Mr. Zachary, which would have been those that we had. Zachary jail calls were served. They are in July 2022 under the jail calls folder.
It says overall investigation of crimes at YSL between January 2015 and December 2015. I don't know what exactly the state means by that. Summary witnesses, my understanding, are frowned upon. Investigator Dennis, previously, when Judge Granville was the judge in this case, there was pages being flipped where he was listing all these different shootings, saying what was gang-related, what wasn't gang-related, or really just what was gang-related, and kind of going through a timeline of a bunch of different acts of violence. I don't think, at this point, if it's targeted to something, I'd be interested to know what the state is trying to get from Investigator Dennis at this point, but just like another recap of everything that was going on. I mean, we objected the first time, and we still don't believe it was appropriate, but to do that again, we're kind of retreading the same.
They want Dennis to come in again. They shouldn't be allowed to bring in the same detective twice. I don't care.
We're not putting him up through for a recap. What we gave on that sheet of paper was a generalization. He was allowed to talk about his investigation. He was qualified as a gang expert in incidents that he investigated. He was able to gain information pertaining to facts that he testified about, some of the things that he was able to testify about. Also actively, like I said, participated in the investigation. So he, as a fact witness, was able to testify about those things as well, and reaction from certain groups of people. And then after the Donovan Thomas murder, that there were a series of retaliatory shootings. He did not go deep into them. There were incidents that were listed that we are now presenting evidence of. At the time, there were objections to him talking about his investigation into those crimes. We alerted the court. We're going to put up evidence of those crimes. This particular one we did today is one of them.
Right. 4/28/15 shootings. I'm seeing on the state's list here, they're saying committed by Nikion Garlington, Antonio Sledge, Quindary Zachary, and Shannon Stillwell. There is no evidence other than Mr. Zachary in his proffer trying to get a better sentence, saying that Mr. Stillwell was there. There's absolutely no evidence, no phone records, no other witnesses, no ballistics that link to Mr. Stillwell. There is nothing that puts Mr. Stillwell in that case. My concern, and he wasn't charged either.
Okay.
What I don't want is, I don't know what Mr. Zachary, where he is, if we're going to hear from him, if we're not. But what I am going to have a motion. Somehow Mr. Stillwell, through Investigator Dennis or some other witness that has no first-hand knowledge of anything, starts trying to bring my client into the 4/28/2015 shootings. And from the discovery, the only person that says that is Mr. Zachary when he was trying to get himself out of trouble. And if Mr. Zachary says that, I will deal with that on cross-examination. Until Mr. Zachary says that, Investigator Dennis should not have anything to say about that.
Over objection, retired Detective Dennis did testify as what I call a summary witness. You need to know that we never received an expert report. For some of these people, not Ms. Bell, who just testified, and those reports that we have is total confrontation clause. I don't even know who he spoke with. He just spoke with people, interrogated people, interviewed people called him up, CIs. I have no idea if there was hope or benefit. And I think that's what Mr. SHARNONS is getting to, because that's already happened. It's over objection, and I don't want it to happen. Again, not to rely on improper summary witness testimony. So I would also join in that same objection. And I understand it's a pre-objection.
Steele objecting, saying it's confrontation clause if Dennis brings up what other people are saying.
Mr. Arnold, his plea agreement, potential jail calls in social media, and the jail.
This is about Duke.
Y'all having him testify, planning to?
Correct.
So
that's going to be crazy seeing Duke testify. Wow. I can't believe that.
Well, Mr. Arnold is in custody, by the way, Your Honor. He's arrested on or about the 6th day of January 2015 outside of Club Crucial. You heard about this fight with Mr. Copeland. He's arrested outside. And I believe he's charged with either a small amount of marijuana or a gun or something like that. Okay. It's now the 10th day of January 2015. It's approximately, my memory is 7:42. I may be wrong. And it's clearly a collect call if the voices are identified the way the state says. It's Mr. Bradford at first and Mr. Arnold. But then there's another woman who's on the phone who I am not going to stipulate who it is. And she gets on the phone, supposedly says something potentially about Mr. Williams. I'm objecting to that portion if that person's not testifying. The person, I believe it is, but I'm not stipulating, is Miss Morton. And I heard today that the state said that they will wait on the Honorable Douglas Weinstein to call Ms. Morton to promote the alibi defense for Mr. Kendrick. So I would move to exclude that portion.
Something, because the thing that had just occurred that is a part of the larger conspiracy that is count one is the murder of Donovan Thomas. Mr. Arnold reaching out to Mr. Bradford, Mr. Arnold asking, you know, what's up, how things are, how are y'all doing, and Mr. Bradford saying some shit just occurred. We believe being intentionally selective with his words. Mr. Arnold is asking where other people are. Miss Morton gets on the phone. Mr. Arnold specifically asked where Mr. Williams is. Morton says to Mr. Arnold, hey, Goldilocks, at some point had his hair dyed blonde gold, but she references him, apprising one another of what is happening outside the jail, as they're apprising Mr. Arnold of what's happening outside the jail. Whole conversation is a conversation between co-conspirators serving to inform each other of the current status of the conspiracy. Switch cars with, provide transportation for the people we believe are involved in the murder of Donovan Thomas.
So it's a phone call around the time Donovan Thomas was killed with a bunch of people yapping on it.
Advising each other of where the participants in that activity are at the moment that the inquiry is made. Arnold asked for Mr. Williams. It may have been that he asked for Mr. Kendrick, so that's a mistake on my part. Mr. Arnold was told that they were either with Mr. Williams. There was a reference to their current locations.
If it is Miss Morton, if someone can identify her voice, that she is not a part of the conspiracy, and that would break the chain. And two, it may be a, quote, spilling of the beans, because the entire conversation is nothing to further the conspiracy. If anything, and I'm not saying there's any conspiracy, but if anything, it's very vague and something happened. I'm going to argue that it does not further conspiracy. So there's many different...
Tell her he's coming up. Okay. And I found that same series of emails that I'll be sending to the court and to counsel for the defense regarding her requested changes.
Okay, well,
He is.
I'm gonna hope that we don't end up calling another attorney.
Judge, I didn't want to call the first one.
I didn't really go that well for you ultimately.
She just said it didn't really go that well to Miss Love. Oh my God, that is terrible.
The way that he responded and then the ultimate version, so that at least before the jury is where that came from, since there has been this continued effort to convince them that we make stuff up and we just, just out of thin air.
Well, you're the one that decided to put him on the stand.
I don't regret that, or I don't.
The judge is frying her today. What does she expect the defense to do? Not defend themselves?
But the court ruled that the lyrics evidence referenced in Division 8, supra, is admissible against defendants Lee and Kendrick as a party admission and all defendants as a co-conspirator admission. The court found it relevant to count 1, RICO conspiracy, Acts 17 through 19, and count 2, murder, and that it is admissible to show actus reus mens rea and as proof of the existence and nature of the gang enterprise, the criminal nature of YSL, the connection of the defendants with one another as intrinsic evidence, and under OCGA 1615.3 and 1615. And specifically, where are you from? I'm from Believe Me, Throw Your Setup, YSL, the ops hate the crew, we getting this paper and we ducking cases. Free Lil Shannon, he the one that had him running with the kid.
Okay, looks like that was already litigated.
I'm going to suggest that we will go back to the video of court, because, sometimes I don't know who writes the order.
So it was already litigated. She's not going to redo what Glenville already let in, but it says something about Shannon Stillwell having a cannon.
I just want to make sure that it was actually litigated in court.
Whether it was talked about in court or not, if it was included in the order, the decision was made that covered that.
That's pretty much it for day 128. Pretty terrible. Suddenly there was like a 4-hour break and the rest was just boring evidence talk. I don't even know if this is going to be its own video, but hit subscribe. Love you guys. Peace out.